There we are.
There we are.
He's
Joe Rayo, FiOS 1 News, Lower Hudson Valley.
And he is Joe Cioffi, FiOS 1 News, New Jersey, and FiOS 1 News, Long Island. He will only leave Long Island out now.
That's right. And he was at Pace University last Friday talking about the eclipse lunar.
Yes. Well, talked about a whole bunch of celestial and astronomical things. And I want to thank the Westchester Amateur Astronomers Club in the Lower Hudson Valley for inviting me to give that talk at Pace on Friday night, and all of those folks at the Westchester Amateur Astronomers Group are crossing their fingers, Joe, and hoping that they'll have a view on Sunday night of the lunar eclipse, which I still think we have a chance of getting a view of it, as stormy as it may be on Sunday.
Well, if everything moves fast enough, it gets out of the way. But there's a lot of uncertainty when it comes to Sunday. And
let me tell you something: even if the sky's clear on Sunday night,
you're going to be cold.
And
you are going to be cold.
It is going to be one of those nights where I'm going to be running, and the astronomers are going to be running. Get a look. Oh, it's beautiful. Get back inside.
Exactly.
It is going to be cold. Horrendous.
Well,
Sunday night.
And there's this, again, a lot of it's Monday. We've got 6 more days. There's a lot of model maneuvering around that has to happen. And first things first, we do have
a system
for Thursday night into early Friday, and that really should be front and center at this point. The overall pattern, Joe, just when I was looking through the long range, we were talking about the fact that with this polar vortex split and what looks like a very wintry Arctic pattern developing over time, and you mentioned that you'd think that at some point the bottom would fall out and you get this whole big plunge of cold, really bitter cold air.
Guess what?
And guess what? Well, the thing, the question is in terms of the timing, but when you start to see it appear on various runs of weather models. And some of them were quite extreme in terms of the numbers. I can't remember ever seeing numbers as low as I saw for the Northeast. That's not saying it's going to happen, but the fact that it has numbers like that probably suggests that there will be at least one solid Arctic dump of cold air coming in the next couple of weeks. But the journey there is going to also be a bit on the turbulent side.
And I am a little concerned about the fact that so many are talking about this big event coming over the weekend, this big weather event, and if I may use the term again, eclipse. It's eclipsing the event on Thursday night. And the funny thing is that a lot of people are saying, well, it's not going to be a big deal, we'll only get like an inch or two or whatever like that. But guess what? If you look back, an inch or two of snow, that would be the biggest amount of snow that would fall in and around the tri-state area going back to the middle part of November. So,
right, because you're on the 60 plus, what are we, 60 what? How many days?
I think it's 60. I have 15,
31, 46, and 14. It's 60.
It's 60.
We can do math really fast.
He's going to be 60 soon.
Couple of weeks. Yes, I am. All right, so let's take a look.
And they're going to be saying that Thursday night, Friday morning, people look out the window on Friday morning, and they say, what happened? What is this? Hey,
well, they're
talking about this big thing on Sunday. Nobody told me about this.
Right. Or they'll mix the two up.
Yeah, they'll say this is...
And this is the one that everybody... Look,
I guess the thing over the weekend came early, didn't it, John?
I've been, I've been really sort of avoiding... even talking too much about it. I mean, I did go over it on my YouTube video tonight, and because that's where you'd expect me to talk about it.
Right.
But as far as the day-to-day stuff is concerned, except in the broadest sense, there's still a lot of uncertainty in terms of cold air and timing and everything else, and we just have to watch models play this out back and forth. I happen to think that it's a matter of whether. The way the upper air is setting up, how fast does cold air get in here? Because there is going to be some very cold air coming in on Sunday at some point. Right. All right, so here's the NAM from earlier, so we could talk about this first system. And of course, yesterday's Saturday night and Sunday system actually did outperform in areas to the south.
Right.
I got the snow analysis map, Joe, and it isn't often when you look down south to see your bigger snow amounts, and yet this is the second time this winter we've done that. 8 to 12 inches across the Washington, D.C., Baltimore area. You can see this large area in yellow is all 8 inches plus, and a little pocket of 12 right over D.C. And we had actually some 4-inch plus amounts in the southern New Jersey counties. 195 was the borderline between an inch and a coating, and there was a coating to half an inch up to about Route 78 or so, and then it just shut off after that. The Hudson Valley was shut out. Most of northern New Jersey was shut out. Most of New York City and Queens was shut out, and Brooklyn. So this kind of worked out, and in terms of the forecast, and it also produced quite a bit of snow across the lower Ohio Valley and back into the middle Mississippi Valley. By the way, I'm going to put this for everybody. I'm going to put a link up in the chat. This is actually a really fun tool to use after it snows because they update this a couple of times a day, and the link is up there. Just go ahead and use it yourself. You can, if you ever wonder in a snowstorm who got how much, well, that link will tell you.
It's a fabulous link. It shows indeed how we missed out, and the folks who are down in the Washington, D.C. And, of course, they're a lot more sensitive to snow than we are. And in Baltimore, or as they say down there, Balmer, they are a lot more sensitive to them. Anything over 2 or 3 inches is like time to call out the National Guard sometime.
I know. And with the government shutdown, it probably complicates things in D.C. itself. Here's a surface map tonight, Joe. Looks all pretty quiet. The low is well offshore. We got, we got the high, and as you describe it, meat locker cold. I checked at as of 9 o'clock Eastern time, West Hampton was 14, and East Hampton was 12.
Wow.
So they're going to radiate like mad tonight. They're probably going to go down into single digits.
Obviously. No, there's no question about it. In fact, that places up in the Hudson Valley to the north and west, the valley areas of Orange and Putnam and Dutchess County, you will be in the single digits too tomorrow morning. And it's a perfect example of radiational cooling in that those deep valley sections or the pine barren areas are going to be in the single digits, and meanwhile urbanized locations such as, for example, in the Hudson Valley, Yonkers and Mount Vernon, or coastal areas right down by the Sound Shore, you'll be hugging the 20-degree mark, but a wide spread of temperature. I guess New York City will probably get down to the low 20s?
Low 20s, that's what I kind of figured.
So you see that big spread between the heat island and places that are out, the rural spots wide open.
I'm going to put another link up for you folks. What I had up there on the screen while Joe was speaking is the interactive surface map, and you can actually go back to the mid-1980s to pull up storms. These maps are on 3-hour plots, but we've got a pretty strong storm coming into California right now. This big occluded front that runs off the California coast, and when we look at the radar, loaded with rain and heavy snows up in the mountains. I noticed that they had winter storm warnings down to about 5,000 feet in the mountains north of Los Angeles for 18 to 24. Now some of this energy is going to come eastward, and this is going to make the system for Thursday night. And we've got the old NAM. I'm going to wait to go to the new NAM to see what it shows, but till there's a little bit more of it. But
I was curious to know the temperature, the various temperatures, the various levels, but on the Foose. But I realize we only go out to 60 hours.
Yeah, it won't be out far enough.
So it won't go out far enough.
All right, so we got a cold front that comes through Wednesday, and that really is it. There's not going to be much with it. So tomorrow looks good. Most of Wednesday looks okay, outside of just some patchy clouds on either day. And then you're going to have some of that California energy coming east, and you can see that low that pops up Thursday afternoon in central Missouri, with an expanding area of snow that moves into Pennsylvania and down into Virginia and West Virginia. The atmosphere seems cold enough that it might support snow a bit further south with all that snow cover down there as well. That doesn't hurt. And this is not a strong system. It's just a lot of warm air pushing into cold air. So it might take a while for those bottom levels to warm. And the NAM has actually got everybody in snow by 1 o'clock in the morning on Friday. It's probably going to be over with after 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning on Friday. So if you hold on to it for 3 or 4 hours and you have it come down at a decent clip, you might put down a couple of inches out of
this. This might be different than some of the snows. Not to say that, I mean, I talk about the last 60 days, it hasn't snowed. Yes, it has snowed. In fact, up where I live, we've had 2 or 3 snowfalls, but the thing is, they have been on the grass. My driveway and most of the roadways have been bare or blacktop. This one, however, depending upon, I think this one could actually stick to my driveway.
It might.
And it might actually stick to some
especially
of the
if it falls
too.
At night.
Right,
right. The precip doesn't go out far enough, so it's only showing that we're getting maybe about 1/10 of an inch of liquid through 1 o'clock in the morning. But that's, at the beginning of this. If we,
right, but like I said, even if it snows 1 or 2 inches on some roadways or on, your walkway or driveway, that's more than what we've had in most areas in the last 60 days.
Sure.
I can't believe I was looking out my driveway over the weekend and looking just at everything, and I said, I can't believe it's mid-January and there's nothing. There is nothing.
Well, it happens sometimes, Joe. You and I both have lived through the decades from the 70s, 80s, and 90s where you went most of the month of January sometimes. Januaries were kind of like this, the way they've been.
Right. And who's that person I was mentioning to you that sent me that interesting little tidbit about Central Park?
Scott Briller pointing out that there's never been back-to-back December, Januaries
with only a trace.
It's never happened in 150 years.
Well, we get that inch or two. Perhaps that will be broken here. And if we don't get it on Thursday night, then we have a shot at something on Sundays too.
And there's probably other events down the road too. So here's how it plays out. After this goes by, Thursday night and Friday morning, we get what we get. Now, of course, we deal with the setup with this next system, and we've been kind of dealing with model runs that have been moving lows around, and I've been telling people, look, from now up until about Thursday, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see, a lot of back and forth until I think the issue is, Joe, at the end of the day, you've got this really strong trough that is coming east, but I think the question is whether the southern part of this trough gets outrun by the north. If you watch how this whole thing spins around, it looks like the north eventually just kind of outruns it, and you're left with the southern energy. It's also on this late afternoon run was a little colder and slower. So if that happens, I think this would suggest that cold air would be more important, and that you could wind up with rain that changes over to a long period of sleet and freezing rain, maybe more sleet than anything else, and then eventually going over to snow. What that means from a practical standpoint, I don't know.
Right.
I don't think anybody knows at this point.
Well, we were discussing the possibility of a flash freeze maybe on Sunday.
Sunday night,
if the cold air comes in rapidly enough. And I've seen, in fact, one remarkable case that I remember going way, way back is Groundhog Day 1976, where at like 5 o'clock in the morning I woke up and I was actually, my thermometer was an indoor-outdoor thermometer, but it was an old-fashioned, it looked like your standard mercury type thermometer.
I had the same thing.
And I literally could see
you could watch it drop. I remember.
You could actually see it dropping. Yeah. Because it went from like 45 or 40 degrees.
I can tell you exactly because I remember the numbers. It was 55, 45, 35, 23, 15, 10, 9.
Right.
That's every hour starting at 3 a.m., I believe.
Isn't that incredible?
Yep.
And it went right over from rain over to snow. And I remember some places got something like 4 inches of snow in just an hour or two.
Right.
It was also, there was some convective activity, but it was
crazy.
Amazing. But that was a flash freeze. That's when the temperatures drop real fast, only over a short span of time, and it wouldn't be surprising to see that. But again, we're 6 days out from this.
Well, let's forget for a moment what the map shows, because this is all going to be different in a few hours when the new one comes out,
right,
to some degree. But I thought it would be interesting just to give everybody an idea, starting at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday. Now, this model run was about 6 hours slower than the others, so it may have the timing off. I don't know, but just to give you an idea, I'm going to put I'm going to take the sounding and right in and about New York City. And at this stage of the game, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it's 39, and it's above freezing all the way up until you get maybe to about 750 millibars. What is that about? 8,000 feet, 7,500 feet.
Yeah, because 850 is
right.
Is what
4,700, 4,800.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we have, it's all above freezing. Obviously, it's 39, so there's no issue there. So that's at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Meanwhile, when you go up into northwest New Jersey, where you see the purplish, and that's supposed to be sleet and freezing rain, we'll take the sounding there, and the temperature there is 27. Okay, so let's move it 6 hours later and go to New York City again. This is for 7 o'clock at night. Now the temperature is 28. So we've dropped 11 degrees in 6 hours, and of course at this point, so sometime after 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it changes over to sleet and freezing rain if this is what the plan is.
Right.
Meanwhile, go up to Albany. I'm going to just put the cursor near where Albany might be. I'm probably a little bit off. The temperature at that point that I picked, which is 42.7 and 74.3, whatever that works out to, is 11 above. Okay, so, and if we go up even further, go up into upstate New York, closer to the Canadian border, it's 1 below 0.
Wow.
So, I mean, we're talking about really, really cold air that's behind here. This is not just, make-believe cold air.
Right.
This is very, very cold air. And usually in these instances, once the little wave goes by, that cold air just collapses and winds up coming in faster most of the time than what the model says.
Right, absolutely, and that could very well happen. We could, as I said, see temperatures plummet precipitously, he said, in an alliterative tone, later on Sunday and into Sunday evening. And let me tell you something, folks, all of you amateur astronomers, if you are hoping for clear weather for the eclipse, get the clouds out of the way. The clouds are going to be only one problem. If it's clear or becoming clear, you're going to be out there for exactly 10 seconds. You say, oh, it's happening, and then run right back inside, because we've got the cold and the wind is just going to be absolutely brutal that night.
Now, I thought this was kind of funny, the way it looks. Now, this is the upper air, okay? And we're gradually... It's been really kind of a grinding process to watch, but we're gradually going into this colder pattern. We've been talking about it being in sort of a stair-step decline that we've been in. Now, after this system goes by, just watch what happens in Canada, folks. You get this strengthening vortex that just plunges down here. Now, various models do this differently, but if you look at it, it just appears and then plop down it goes. I mean, this would be some rather bitter cold air, and taking it out to the end of the period, you've got a flow. If you follow the flow here, and I'm at day 12, day 13, you can almost take a ruler from the Arctic Circle and take it all the way down into the southeastern part of the United States. It's almost a straight line flow from there. That huge ridge builds up in the west. This is, by the way, a signature of, when we talk about the Greenland block and we talk about the East Pacific Oscillation, or the EPO, and we've said many times that when that EPO index is strongly negative, that is that's actually very favorable for cold in the east. Well, guess what? This is a strongly negative EPO signature.
Yep.
And wait till the parallel GFS.
We said,
look at this. This is even more dramatic in how it, if I remember correctly. I'm going to run it backwards. And by the way, for you amateur weather people, it's actually a good idea to run the jet stream backwards, and because you kind of get a pretty good feel for what's actually happening by doing that. But just watch over time after we get through Sunday storm, and again, you gradually strengthen that polar vortex in Canada that just comes plunging down into the Great Lakes and over the Northeast.
Now, didn't you tell me, though, that the parallel, off camera, of course, but you were telling me that the parallel GFS came up with some crazy numbers temperature-wise for New York or New York City?
Well, over the weekend it did, and this is why you can't really use this stuff, from a practical standpoint when you look at the long range, because I mean it spewed out numbers that would be essentially once in a generation or even once in 2 generations.
Right.
But I'll go back and I think I remember which one it was. I think it was was it the 12Z or the 8? Let's try the 12Z, and it was the temperature anomaly, and I believe it was the 336. No, not the temperature anomaly. I'm sorry. It was the actual shaded temperatures. Okay, so yeah, I think this is it. Okay, so these were 7 a.m. temperatures for. All right, no, this is not the one. This was the 336. It came in for Monday the 23rd on one of the runs, but this is almost as cold. I mean, look at these ridiculous numbers. You got a lot of below zero numbers here. You've got a minus. I can't read it because it's on the border there, but it looks like a minus 2 or 3 for Staten Island, and you've got minus 20s and minus 25s as you get into upstate New York. Let me see if it was the. Let me go back. I remember it was the 330. It was for January 23rd, and I don't think it was this. It must have been one of the other model runs. Let me go back to January 23rd.
I can remember, up in the Adirondacks, I think it was Boomtown or something in the Adirondacks, like 51 below zero, and that was back in 1979. But you're right, a generational. I think the last time we saw some exceedingly cold weather, such as what this model is trying to suggest, was in '94, the winter of '93-'94. There was a place up in northern New Jersey. It was like 34 below zero one morning.
Oh, I mean, just crazy stuff. But look, the bottom line is, whatever run you look at, if you watch the temperature maps on all of them, it shows some really, really, very, very cold air. Now, in terms of the literal numbers, at this point, it's just really there's no value to look at the numbers because, you don't know. Right. You have to have a really ideal setup to get, crazy cold here. But can we say that we're going to get at least one Arctic dump in this stretch of period over the next 2 weeks? I think it's a pretty safe bet that we are.
I think we will. And here's a piece of advice for all of you. You might want to, if you don't have it in your garage, you might want to run out to the store the next couple of days and buy some dry gas and put it in your gas tank, because that helps to, during spells of exceedingly cold weather, that helps to reduce the possibility of any freeze-ups in your gas line.
This is a new NAM, by the way.
Okay, here's the new NAM.
So this is now at 1 a.m.
1 a.m. and
all snow in PA, and you got mostly snow in New Jersey. 4 a.m. snow in most of New Jersey. Looks like snow to rain over Long Island, and you've got snow in Connecticut and in New York State. And then it's just about done after that. This is at 7 a.m. There's a little low that's well east of the New Jersey coast, so I'm thinking, at this point it's probably wrapping up. Let's just see for laughs what it gives for snow.
Is this 10 to 1 or is this the?
This is the 10 to 1.
Okay.
I think it's pretty fair. We could use 10 to 1 at this point. But I mean, look, it's got some 1 and 2 inch amounts. I don't think that's unreasonable. And in terms of total precip, it gives a couple of tenths here. So if you grind it all out, a coating to a couple of inches, not impossible.
Right. My son, who's a teacher, I think he's having either a midterm or rehearsal for a midterm on Friday, and he called me up midday today, very, very like, I hear there's going to be snow on Friday. Snow. I said, look, the worst case scenario.
Last week it was your daughter and the airline ticket.
Well,
this week is your son.
My son, the physics teacher.
And Mrs. Rayo?
And Mrs. Rayo looks out the window. And if it snows, she says, oh, poo, and goes back to sleep.
Right, exactly. And your daughter's talking to you, and what does she say? Well, what did Joe Cioffi say?
Yes, exactly. It's absolutely
nice.
True. Absolutely true.
Nice. God bless you. You brought her up right.
Yeah, she wants a second opinion. But what I'm saying is, I told my son, I said, look, if the worst case scenario is a delay, there is not going to be any school closures, at least in this forecaster's opinion. I'm sure yours too. At least I hope not. For Friday morning, not enough for that. But a delay, all right, I could see a delay, especially since it's been so long since they've had snow.
Yeah. And
snow that may actually cling to the roadways. But by 7 a.m., you just pointed out, it's all but over.
Mm-hmm.
And if they do their job, they being the DOT, and start clearing and sanding and whatever they do.
We got a few minutes left, but this is a comment I think you'd want to read. It says from Doug Crum, who watches us down from Georgia. Enjoyed your astronomy discussion. Unfortunately, so many kids cannot enjoy lying on their back stargazing due to living under the influence of urban and suburban lights and video games.
Right, right.
You were talking about that. That's
right.
the grain of astronomy.
That's the problem. I in my talk, and thank you very much, Doug. In my talk at Pace, I just told people how I got started, and where I lived in Throgs Neck 50 years ago, much darker, obviously, than
oh yeah, I
remember.
Right now. Sure.
You could actually see stars back then, but now not only do you have the lights that Doug just mentioned, but yeah, how do you tear the kids away from the various movies that are out there, the video games, Game Boy, their phones, this and that, everything? It's tough. I'm kind of hoping that I'm kind of hoping that the eclipse is going to get people interested. But even if it's again visible, how many minutes are you going to be out there looking at the moon go dark when the temperatures are plunging and when you have 30 and 40 mile per hour winds?
I agree. All right, so we'll be talking more about this, of course, in the next few days. We're not. You can see that Joe and I we just touched upon it. We kind of have a rough idea of how this is going to play out. But
Thursday.
But again,
we'll
Thursday.
have a much better idea for Thursday.
Thursday. Between now and then, there's nothing we can do about
Thursday,
it.
because we'll have a definitive handle, and maybe we'll certainly have a much better idea for the Thursday night event.
Right.
Please don't forget the Thursday night event.
Right.
And then a much better idea as to what will happen, the atrocity, as you would use.
Well, yeah, I mean, who knows
the possible atrocity.
And also the fact that we can't, in terms of detail, in terms of how, we don't know at this point how this is going to start.
6 days out.
Yeah, so just relax, all right?
Right.
Okay, so anyway, we got to go. I'm at the top of the hour. FiOS 1 News, New Jersey, and FiOS 1 News, Long Island.
FiOS 1 News, Lower Hudson Valley for me. I will not be here tomorrow.
Right, you're out tomorrow and back on Wednesday. There is a... just want to tell everybody, if you want more info, if you've got, if you're a little bit more serious about, wanting to get more weather information, I have extra stuff up on my Patreon platform, and there's a link up here on the descriptor to our live stream tonight. Also, I've noticed that a number of you that have Android devices have been downloading the free weather app that's on Google Play. I've got the link up there as well. I guess it took a weather event, or a potential weather event, to get people to do it, but it's fine. It's absolutely free, and you can download it from Google Play. Just put in Joe Cioffi, and it should come up. Or, as I said, I have the link up there. So you're out tomorrow.
Right.
But
I'm back Wednesday, Thursday,
Friday.
Wednesday,
Friday.
And I promised you that on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, not only will we be here, but I will also join you Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday on your YouTube channel.
And speaking of that, don't forget, Joe's got his, if you want to see his astronomy talk from Pace, it's on his Facebook page, Joe Rayo Weather. It's also on my YouTube channel, and I actually put it up on my Facebook page as well. So you can watch it. You can watch it now. It's an hour, and it's extremely informative. So grab some popcorn and put it on the big screen, on your big screen TV, and give it a look.
And we'll see what happens for when we get back Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday together, because I think we're going to have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we'll have a lot of fun. All right, have a great night, everybody. We'll see you. I'll see you tomorrow.